Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. This video has been on my to-do list for so long. So I have a bunch of watercolor paper scraps here that just because I use a large pack that I trim down, I always end up with these smaller ones. And I have wanted to, for quite some time, figure out if I could better press with ink that is safe for alcohol markers. And so I have a bunch of different BetterPress products here, and I'm using the BetterPress system, but I am not using the ink that comes with it. The ink that comes with the BetterPress is solvent-based, which means you can watercolor it, but you cannot Copic color it or color it with any kind of alcohol markers, whether you have Olos or Ohuhus or Alta New Artist markers. Like they don't work with a solvent base. And I'm an I'm a colorist. And I'm sure you saw my videos in the past where I did try the watercoloring and I wasn't super happy with my results on the cotton panels. So I decided to try it on my own watercolor paper. Now this is Canson Monteval cold press watercolor paper, and that's what I'm going to use for all my panels for this. And I tried each of the inks that I typically use for coloring with alcohol markers on each different image. So the first one I started with is the one that I go to the most, which is Hero Arts Intense Black ink. And so I inked it up just like I normally would and pressed it through the machine. Just the only thing I changed was the ink, and I get a beautiful result. You could still feel that it was impressed into the paper because watercolor paper is thicker. And so then I just set them aside to dry and I moved on to the next. This one here is Honeybee's Intense Black ink. And I'm like, spoiler alert, 2 minutes in, they all worked wonderfully. They all worked beautiful. And so I'm super excited because the BetterPress images do have more detail than a regular clear stamp can get. That's what makes the images so pretty. And you're going to see a lot of the same images that I used in the one where I did like Distress Ink watercoloring. So to be fair about the watercoloring, like I did use Distress Inks and I didn't use actual watercolors. So I have seen other people use actual watercolors and get beautiful results. So it just might be my technique or that particular medium. But anyway, I went through, I tried them. That one I believe was the Picket Fence. This one was the one that I was the most nervous about, and that's because it's a pigment ink. This is Altenews Obsidian pigment ink, which I have stamped before and used with their artist markers, which is their brand of alcohol markers. And I wanted to try it on one of the super large plates here because that is the one where I seem to get the most trouble for coverage, but an pigment ink peg is squishier. So you do run the risk that you're going to kind of mush it down onto the actual BetterPress machine, or that you're going to mush it into the details. So you do want to press gently with this. And I'm doing 2 panels because I didn't have a panel that was an A2 size. So I'm trying to get as many portions of the flowers as I can. But it worked really, really well. Like you can see, I know it's hard to see the pressure, but I'm very lightly tapping it. It's super solid. That's one of the great things about pigment ink is how solid it is. That's why I heat emboss with all my white sentiments with a white pigment ink. So I did it with the black because I wanted to see if I could still get that really crisp design, and I totally did. It was a solid black background. It was a really nice crisp image. I was so pleased with the way that it came out, and it did, like here, this is just me with a just a wet microfiber cloth. I sprayed it with my stamp cleaner, and the nice thing about these inks is because they are not solvent based, they do clean up much nicer, and they don't necessarily leave the staining on your plate. So I wanted to try the Obsidian pigment ink again with a more detailed image to make sure that it was going to work for that as well. Now you can see in the background that I am absolutely getting this all over my BetterPress machine. That did not affect the outcome of the image. It worked just as well. I had really nice, clean butterflies that were super detailed. So the pigment ink will work really well, but just be aware that it is probably going to get on your background. Not the background of your card, but the background holder for the BetterPress, the magnetic portion. And then this one is the Pink Fresh Studios. This is theirs. This is another one that I use with alcohol markers. And this one I tried with the sentiments. And once again, I was super pleased with the results. So I'm really thinking that, like, I do have several of these solvent-based Spellbinders inks that you can use for the BetterPress. And they're beautiful and they give really great coverage. But I'm thinking that you could probably just use whatever ink that you have. I am going to do more experimenting to see if other colors will work. But this is the results I had with the black, and they all worked really well. So now we're going to dive into the coloring portion, which I am super excited about because they have such beautiful detailed images. Like, I love now knowing that I will be able to press them in ink that will allow me to color them with my alcohol markers. So I am going to show you this panel in like regular speed, but because we have we're making 4 cards, guys, bear with me. Because we have so much coloring going on, I am going to speed it up. Please know that you always have the option to slow it back down with the YouTube controls. So that way, if, you want to see something a little bit more detailed or a little bit slower, then, I would just mute the audio because I'll sound like the Peanuts teacher. But so with that said, tomorrow in the US is the 4th of July, which means there's a lot of sales going on. And you guys know I'm a huge sale girly. So I don't think any of the products that I'm using in today's video are new. Almost all of them are on sale, especially when we get down to like the embossing folders and stuff. Those are on sale for like $7.50. But they are doing a red, white, and blue sale with up to 50% off. The BetterPress system is also on sale if it's something that's been kind of on your wish list. Lots of sales. You guys, if you have been to my blog before, it's a website now. It's not even a blog. It used to just be a blog. But now it's a whole website. If you've been to the website before, you may have noticed that I do have a craft sales page, and I do try to keep that up to date. You guys shopping through those links, they are affiliate links. That's no additional cost to you. It just means that I make a small percentage from the company, which is a great way to support me and the free content that I put up here on YouTube. But also, I did want to talk a little bit about the website because I've run into some issues. So this is going to be like a little bit of story time today. Basically, somebody had left me a comment, so I know that this is something that I need to address, that they had tried to sign up for the notifications to the website, and it said that I was no longer offering that form. That is true-ish. It's true-like. So what happened is I have a system in place that I use MailChimp, and I have that hooked up to my website. So anything that I post will then be sent out to anybody who signs up for the information to come to them. And it's basically just so you don't miss anything that I would share on the website. Well, when you sign up for those types of services, you have to pick, like you have to decide what category of how many emails you're going to send. And so I was just, the website was super new. The form was super new. So I went with the one that was like 50 to 500. Because I was like, I'm not going to have more people sign up than that. And once I get close to that, when that happens, I'll just up what I'm paying. So as the nature of the internet, unfortunately, what ended up happening was like overnight. It really was like overnight. I had like 150 people, and then all of a sudden I had 3,000. And it's not because I all of a sudden got so much better at coloring that so many people wanted to follow me because I'm fantastic. No, I mean, what happened was it was spam. Like it was just all of these like spam bots signing up for information from the website, and then they use that to try to either get into the website or open up other information, or just use it for nefarious reasons. But because it was like 3,000 and my subscription was for only 500, I ended up having to pay a fee to go, like, because I went over those 500 emails. And since I am a small business and I work for myself, like, obviously that's not something that I budgeted for. So I ended up having to close down the form until I could figure out how I can go about removing those. And in looking into it, there isn't really a good way to do it without like being able, I tried going through it individually and some of them are really obviously like spam, and some of them are a little bit questionable. And so because there were so many and it was so time consuming, what I ended up doing was basically having to wipe the slate clean. So if you had signed up for the notifications, and you've noticed that you have not been getting them, it is because I had to wipe them. And that's really frustrating for me. And I am working with my website developer to try to come up with a better plan to keep that from happening. But that is kind of where we are now. So the form is kind of discontinued for the moment until I figure out a better plan to put in place so that I'm not having to pay the fees to keep the spammy people from signing up for them, basically. Let's go back to the card real quick. So here I am showing you actually two different color combinations. So for the RVs, one of the flowers, the bottom left one, is going to be like a lighter version. So that's going to be an RV 02, 04, 06, and 09. And for the darker version, I am doing an RV 04, 06, 09, and RV 69. So this is just another way that you can kind of get more looks, more bang for your buck if you only have a limited amount of markers. You can just swap out either your darkest color or your lightest color and get a different look and kind of extend that. So that way they wouldn't be identical. I chose to do them this way. They still work together and they're still very complementary of each other because they are the same color family. They just look slightly different. One looks a little bit darker, one looks a little bit lighter. And then, like I said, this, going forward, this one is all just regular time, how you would normally see it. But then I am going to have to speed it up because I don't like having to cut stuff out. That's really hard for me. Because I just don't want you to, if there's something specific you're looking for, I don't want you to miss it. But I did have to speed it up and cut some things out because it is, a more lengthy video just because we have so much going on. And some people are going to have already stopped watching because they're going to be like, I just came for the ink experimentation, and now that I know that it works, I'm out. Which, I mean, is also fine. It doesn't help my algorithm, but that's okay. So sometimes I too am also going to YouTube to look for something specific, and I don't watch the whole video. If it's one of my friends, I try to, though. In fact, today I was just on there looking for, so we have the 4th of July tomorrow. I just said that. And one of the things that we're doing tomorrow is we are also celebrating my nephew who is going to dental school. It's kind of like a dual party, your congratulations on getting into dental school, going away party, and the 4th of July, just because we're all going to be together at the same time. And he will have to leave because he is, not a freshman at a university. He's a grown man. He's going to have to find an apartment and all of that stuff. So we're doing that. I am making his cake. And one of the things that I wanted to do to kind of help like decorate for his cake is I wanted to do the like LMU, that's where he's going to school. And so I was like, how can I do this? I'm not great at piping because that's not really my forte. Like my cake decorating skills do not include piping letters. I tried, if you guys have been around a while, I tried back with Peanut's 7th birthday, and it was, it left something to be desired. Like, it was not great. So I was like, I'll just do like chocolate in like a mold, and I'll be able to put that on the cake with a little congratulations. So I had to go on there to see like what are the steps that I need to do chocolate molds. Now, again, if you've been here a while, you know that I grew up with my mom making candy and stuff, so I'm a little bit familiar. But hers were not silicone molds. Hers were plastic. And so I'm not sure if there's a difference. It looks like maybe it might be a little bit trickier. Not 100% positive on that. So we'll give it a try. If you have any tips and tricks for using silicone molds, please let me know. My intention is to melt down my chocolate, maybe mix it with a little bit of, what are they? It's like corn syrup, I think is what they tell you to put in it. Or some people I think do coconut oil, but something just to make it a little bit thinner. And then, you pour it into the mold, you kind of like tap it and shake it around so that it gets into all of the nooks and crannies, but also gets all the air bubbles out. And then you put it in the freezer or the refrigerator. With my mom's, we used to do it in the refrigerator, but I think that's because we were doing filled candy. So they were not, they weren't solid chocolate. They were just like a chocolate shell. And then we would, take them back out, fill them, put in your bottom layer of chocolate, and then put them back in the refrigerator. But I think I'll probably end up putting them in the freezer and then hopefully popping them out, and they will work. Good thing is, if it doesn't work on the first try, I can melt it down and try again. I can melt it down and try again, which is like the slogan here, that everything is fixable. So I will be applying that to my cake decorating skills at some point this evening. I am sure of it. So that is something I'm looking forward to, being able to celebrate him and stuff before he goes off to dental school. And then he has quite a rigorous workload. So I don't imagine he'll be able to come back home until maybe Thanksgiving break, possibly Christmas. And his birthday is also in December. So I do hope that we get to see him at least for Christmas, so we can, also celebrate his birthday. So yeah, that's what's going on tomorrow with our newfangled pool heater. We will be able to go swimming tomorrow as long as the weather holds. So that is something else that is fun. My little jelly bean today was already like, can we go swimming? And I was like, ooh, we're going to go swimming tomorrow. Try again. We're going to go swimming tomorrow. So this one, I did the little flowers yellow, just like I did on the first one. I incorporated some purple into the larger flower, and then I did the darker pink for these little like daisy style flowers. You can obviously do them whatever color whatever strikes your fancy. It's your card, whatever you think is pretty. But since I like my stuff to be matchy-matchy when I am photographing it, I tried to repeat some of the similar colors as much as I could. Not so that they are like a perfect set by any means, but I did want to make sure in going in and coloring all of them that even with them like letter pressing really well with the BetterPress and, showing all the detail, that they would not smear when I was coloring. And I did not notice any smearing whatsoever. This one, it has like the more like super detailed, and I love that it has like this little frame. I am going to change the shape of this just by using a different die cut, only because I was using scraps, and you can see this design as like edge to edge here. So like, don't be afraid to change the shape of other things with other, using dies or trimming them down, if that's going to work better for your card design. So these little blue flowers, I did the same as the ones on the left-hand side, which are the same type of flowers. And then for the larger flowers, I'm going to color them the same way. The one on the bottom right, we're going to do purple. And then the other two, I did orange, because remember, I was trying to incorporate a lot of the same colors that you had previously seen in the other cards. And then, it's the same thing that I always tell you guys, any point where two objects are meeting. So the base of your flowers, where they're meeting the center, or any point where one object is laying on top of the other, those are the areas that you're going to have shadows in. Your highlight and your shadows is what's going to help give you that separation and dimension. So you want to put your darkest color where you want your flower to be the darkest, and your lightest color where you want it to have a highlight, or the part of the flower that would get the most light. I shouldn't even say flower, because it's true for everything. So the part of the object you want to get the most light. So where my petals are curved over, that's obviously going to be a little bit more in shadow, but where they're full and they're open and there's no shadow, that's definitely going to have a lighter color. And typically with my lighter color, I do like to blend in from the outside edge. That way I am not going over my darker colors and removing anything that I don't want. This one in the top kind of left-hand corner looks very similar to like a magnolia to me. So I did choose to do the pinks. This time I did the lighter pink version. So the RV09 is my darkest color. And this one is, you kind of have to stop for a second and kind of see what's what. But it wasn't too challenging once I had laid down my shadows. Here, I had to take a break because my husband had gotten home with my daughter, and she was very excited and wanted to color with mommy. So I had to move my project off my desk and let her color another piece before I could move my project back onto my desk and finish out my coloring. Because while we do like to share everything here, mommy's projects for work sometimes cannot be shared. She is very interested in the coloring, but honestly, so was her brother at this age. So I try to indulge them whenever I can. So there's this one completely completely colored. And then the last one is going to be this kind of, I think it's their mums or their peonies. I'm not 100% sure. But the cover plate, and this is the one that we did with the obsidian pigment ink, and I didn't have any smearing on this one either. I really love the way that these panels come out, and honestly, of the 4 cards, I think this one ends up being my favorite, which is funny because when I did them with the watercolor, that one was my least favorite. So it just goes to show you that it's not necessarily the image. It can sometimes just be your coloring medium or the colors you chose. I don't know, again, if they're peonies or if they're mums, I did add a little bit of yellow to the centers, just because I thought it made the flowers look more interesting. But you certainly could skip that and then just do them all the one color. And for this one, I did pink, blue, and purple, I believe. And then I think the one that I left in to show you, even though we're at like 4 times speed, was the purple yet again. So yeah, so very excited to be able to go swimming with the kids in warm water tomorrow. Because normally, as I have told you guys, like I'm not a cold water lady. I don't. My mom, when I was younger, we had a pool when I was growing up, and like we weren't even allowed in the pool at the same time as my mom because she wanted to float on her raft and read her book and drink her pop in peace. And so very rarely did we get to be in there at the same time that she was in there. And honestly, she never even got in there that often. But when she did, she wanted it for relaxation purposes. So I do like getting in with the kids, but I don't like freezing. So now with the pool heater, I like that I will have the option to set the temperature, though my husband keeps saying that I want a pool, not a hot tub. And honestly, I think he's being a bit dramatic because I don't want it to be like 120 degrees. I want it to be like high 80s, and I don't think that's asking too much. So here, all of the flowers are very similar, colored them just in different colors, and then we'll go over one last time all of the coloring and the backgrounds that we have made, and then we're going to turn them into cards, even though we're like 24-minute, like, keep on keeping on, guys, because we're going to turn them into cards. So I messed around with the arches die. I cut some frames. I cut, some background pieces. And I decided that I wanted to incorporate some texture into the background of some of the cards. So I am using some 3D embossing folders. These are so great. They're really fantastic for adding texture into the background. And then for some of them, like this one, I am going to trim this down with an arch die. Same thing with the one, the sending birthday wishes one. I'm going to change the shape of that as well by trimming it down. And then here I've kind of like laid them all out. I really love like the drama of a dark background, and so the peony/mum card did give us that dark background that we pressed, but these ones, like ones that have like that frame, give you the option to do the same thing. You would just have to go in there with an alcohol marker and fill in the area, which is what I did. So I just went in and filled in all of the negative space in my arch around my flowers to make it black, to just make it a little bit more dramatic on the page. I knew that I had white sentiments, and so in order to just add some shine as well as incorporate some white into my cards, I am doing some spatters on my black panels for 3 of the 4 cards. This is Perfect Pearls in the color Perfect Pearl, which is a really shiny white. And then I'm also going to use some Copic opaque white ink, add just a little bit of water to that, so that it is nicer to kind of splatter. I know not everybody loves splatters, and that's totally cool. You could obviously skip this step. So doing my splatters kind of all over my leaves and my little tufted background there, and then we're going to start building these. So this one, I laid down the arch on top of it, made sure that it sat where I wanted it to sit, because this one's like edge to edge. I'm going to be right up against it. So I held it in place so that I was sure when I adhered it to my card base that when I put my little arch over top of it with the foam tape, that it would cover the whole image. So just this one is the one that is the only one that doesn't have the spatters. It's a very clean card. And I wanted to have an option that was that way, that was just nice and clean. So popping it up just adds a little bit of extra interest, because we don't have a lot going on here besides just the coloring of the image. And don't get me wrong, these are really detailed, beautiful images. So that's enough to carry the card for sure. It just adds, just a little extra, and then I will put the sentiment down kind of in the bottom right-hand corner. For this one, I cut the background out with a arch die, put that on a black arch, and then in order to kind of guide the eye and include the orange, I used those butterflies that we did. I colored them the same way that I did the butterfly in the one of these images. I can't remember the name of it. And then I will go around these in black to help them blend in to the background. Like I said, this one's probably one of my favorites. Then I'm going to mount this on foam tape over one of the 3D embossed backgrounds. And then later on, we'll be adding in, some more shimmer and some more white gel pen details, sparkles, with our like rhinestones, all of those things we would normally add. This one I did like a little bit of a black frame around just to give it a nice finished edge, and I will pop this one up on foam as well. This one is going to go over just the plain background. This does not have any embossing in the background. So we're just going to put on that foam tape and then pop it up over the center. You could die cut these in any shape that you would like. I just happen to have the arches out, and you'll see I have a video I think coming up this weekend that uses even more arches. I just must be in a phase, I guess. So this one has the tufted background, and this one is just die cut just the way that it is. There is no frame or anything around it. We're going to change the outline just slightly by adding in the butterflies and coloring those edges black. So it just changed the shape just a little bit. I'm going to add some clear shimmer to the flowers, to the butterflies, pretty much to everything I can get my hands on. And then we're also going to do some white highlights with a number 10. My gel pen is the Jelly Roll from Sakura. It's a number 10. And I added some more white dots on my little butterfly wings, to the centers of my flowers, things like that, to help them kind of stand out and get that extra added detail. For the rhinestones, I have 2 here. These are both from Spellbinders. They're their color essentials. There's the black and there's the clear. The black just has black in it. And then the clear has 2. It has like a white and then one that is like a clear opalescent. I used both of them. Really, really pretty. And I love neutrals that can go with anything. So we're going to recap the last little bit after we put these are the ones that I was talking about that are like the opalescent ones. They're not just white. Very pretty. But I will recap all 4 cards so that you can see them all in their entirety. And then over on my Instagram, I will have, still photos if you're interested in seeing that. I will be updating my sales page for the 4th of July sales if you would like to check that out. I always appreciate your guys' support. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you all a happy 4th of July. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.